We start this heavy cricket edition of the SportsMax Zone with Ireland and the West Indies. They are preparing to start their journey for a place at the 2027 50 over World Cup with the first one-day international set for Dublin on Wednesday. The disruption to the Indian Premier League had an effect on the Caribbean side, forcing John Campbell and Jediah Blades to join as replacements for Sherfane Rutherford and Romario Shepherd. Captain Shea Hope says the aim is to achieve more victories.
The last few series that we've been involved with, the guys are really showing that we're one of the teams to be reckoned with going forward. We just got to ensure that we understand what's in front of us every single time we go out to play, understand the conditions quickly. But it's more of a take your first punch mentality, I would say, instead of waiting back and sitting and allowing the opposition to get on top of us. So we've been showing great signs of that. And the preparation that we've been doing over the last couple of weeks, last couple of months, has always been geared towards that. So the more we can do it, the more we can be consistent as a team doing those simple things. And then we continue to win more, gain more confidence as a squad. And I think when we play against the top teams around the world, and we doing those same things consistently, and we're getting more wins, then we can certainly see that our progression is coming with some results as well.
Yeah, meanwhile, Ireland's skipper Paul Stirling, while relishing their long series win against the West Indies, he understands that this is a new campaign.
On that series in Jamaica, probably really fondly. I think it's one of our best series wins, certainly. I felt that at the time and hold that quite close. It's fantastic to have the opportunity to try and do that in the next series at home and in our own conditions. But I think the exciting thing about playing the West Indies is it's a unique style of cricket, or certainly has been in the past, where if you miss, the ball's going to go a long way, but you also might try and force a few dots in between that and build a little bit of pressure that way. So it'll be interesting because we've chosen the grounds in Ireland for this and the T20 series that are smaller than what could have been, which might play into their hands a little bit. But again, we'll not look too far ahead, and it could be a different style of cricket that they bring tomorrow.
Yeah, Nikhil Uttamchandani joins us via Zoom to look ahead to the fixture and the series as a whole. Nikhil, as usual, a pleasure to have you. So many questions. I'm not even 100% sure where to start, but I'm going to start with a comment from the West Indies captain, Shea Hope, because he pointed to the success that the Caribbean side had at the back end of 2024. Started the year pretty badly, lost their first 5 matches, but won, 6 of the last 7 to complete the year. How much of that can they bring into the start of this new campaign?
A lot, Ricardo. I think that and those 2 series at the end of last year, under Shea Hope and Darren Sammy's leadership in the Caribbean, it felt like almost the West Indies had turned the page. They had success against England in 2023 as well, when they came to the Caribbean. But then, as you said, there were disappointing returns in the Sri Lanka series, for example. So I think it felt like it was the start of a new chapter. And I think the confidence within a few of the younger players, the Amir Jangus, the Justin Graves, even the bowling unit with the Jaden Seals and Matthew Ford, who also had success in those 2 series. I think that will be probably an all-time high for those individuals. And they'll go into this series thinking they can win 3-0 and helping them to prepare for England.
Yeah, and of course, it wasn't so long ago that Ireland beat the West Indies in a one-day international series in the Caribbean, the summer of 2022. And, Paul Stirling clearly fondly remembers that campaign. I want to get an understanding, though, of how the Ireland team has progressed since that time, if any at all. Are we expecting to see a better Ireland team, or are they much of the same?
Well, it's always hard to judge because they don't play against the quality opposition consistently. One thing we do know, though, is they've always got that fight about them. I think back to the 2022 series, as you referenced. I also think about last year, the last time they had cricket in Ireland, it was when Pakistan came before the World Cup, and they stunned Pakistan, winning the first game and chasing 180 plus. So the West Indies can't take them lightly. I think, although it's hard to measure the improvement in their players, the one thing we can say about them is they've got something that a few teams have, which is that continuity. I think back to that 2022 series and Sterling, Harry Tector, Dockrell, Andy McBride, Curtis Camphor, they all have played cricket together for the last 5 to 7 years. So I think that continuity, the understanding, and the chemistry will be next to none and probably one of the higher in terms of teams around the world. So the West Indies can't afford to take them lightly, given what happened in 2022, and also given the struggles we tend to have seen from the West Indies in the past away from home.
Yeah, that's for sure, Nikhil. What about the conditions in Dublin? Who will it favor? You know, who will benefit based on that?
Again, it's so hard to say. We haven't had any cricket there since May 2024, Mariah. But when I looked at the T20I scores last year in that series, they were all 175 plus, and that's 20 over cricket. So I'm expecting, as he said, it's a smaller ground. I'm expecting that you will see, high scores, probably some grass on the surface. And we know, I think Ross and Chase mentioned yesterday, about conditions and atmospheric conditions being quite chilly. So maybe then that does assist the likes of a Jaden Seals, a Matthew Fords, a Jadiah Blades in terms of, the swing that they're able to extract.
Yeah, I was reading an interview on SportsMax.tv earlier today, an interview done with Ravi Rampal, and, he was being asked about preparation for the bowlers ahead of this Ireland match. And he spoke about the players, of course, being very disciplined when it comes to their bowling, some of the things he plans to work on when it comes to tactics. Do you think it's a good time for him to join the setup as well, to ensure that, we focus very particularly on these bowlers?
I think, Maria, what's important for Rampal in this role is to be backed. I mean, the West Indies have had a series of bowling coaches, often changing position at that helm. If you think about Sean Tate coming in for a short stint with the test team, then Franklin was with the white ball team. He went over to the test team. Now Rampal's come in. I think given that the 2027 World Cup is still some months away, if he has an opportunity to work with a very young bowling unit in Seals, in Ford, in Blades, who knows what's possible? From the feedback I've gotten, he's done a lot of technical good at TKR in his time. He's obviously very knowledgeable about the technical side of bowling and is qualified. And I hope that he can bring that franchise experience to the team. But if this is the man they believe for the job, I hope that he can be back for the next 2 years leading up to that World Cup so that we can measure if there's any real difference or impact made. That being said, what he has to do is try to enhance or try to manufacture that discipline and control he's talking about, especially at the back end of the innings. Even in those 2 series wins for the West Indies, they still conceded over 9 runs and over in the last 10. That, for me, is one thing I'm keeping an eye on in both series. Can anyone put their hand up and almost identify themselves as a long-term option at the back end of the innings? Who can separate themselves amongst the rest as we look to the 2027 World Cup?
Yeah, and we just have to keep that in the back of our minds, that, a lot of the players that are playing now will be a part of that 2027 World Cup, and plans have to be in place. Now with Shifin Rutherford and Romario Shepherd missing out because of IPL duties, how important is it, and what are some of the assets that John Campbell and Jadiah Blades bring into this setup?
Well, obviously we've seen John Campbell right in Ireland when he got 170 plus last playing one international cricket. I think it's hard for him to start in this 11, given that Django and Graves have done well in one international cricket, and I think it would have been between 2 of them for 1 place. But now that both of Shepherd and Rutherford are missing, I fully expect the 2 of them to slot in. Django's a like-for-like replacement as a left-hander. Graves is an all-rounder. But I think, obviously, the depth and the balance of the side will be off when you think about the fact that Rutherford, there was plans and talk about Rutherford being a bowling option, especially in the Ireland series. So they're probably down to 6 bowling options. I actually want to see them maybe experiment a bit in the Ireland series, especially with Justin Graves bowling. Can they give him maybe 6 to 10 overs each game to see how much of an asset he can be to this West Indies team? Because we've known in both white ball formats, the 5 bowling options continues to plague them. And the limited options, I think, always is a tough challenge for our captain. So I'm looking forward to seeing if Graves can provide, a 6 bowling option that's reliable. But then they've also got the important role of, and again, it's with middle order batters, the toughest thing is the adaptability. Sometimes you come in, you've got to resurrect the innings, sustain pressure, and then accelerate. And at other times, you've got to come in and pretty much go from the onset. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how these 2 go with a bit more responsibility now on their shoulders.
Yeah, I heard you talk there about the bowling options and maybe Justin Graves getting some more bowling opportunities. I know Rutherford isn't there, but looking ahead, do you think Rutherford should bowl more? Because he does have a pretty tidy, slow bowling. He provides a pretty tidy slow bowling option sometimes for his captain.
Certainly, Lance. I can't stress enough how important Rutherford is and his bowling is, and not only for the one international team. I think when I look at the T20 international team, it is so needed. How many times have we seen at the World Cup, in previous series, the West Indies, playing with 5 bowling options to try to strengthen the batting depth? And if I'm Rutherford, I'm thinking, yes, there's competition for places, there's talent around the region. How can I make myself indispensable in that T20 team? And I think it's by his bowling. When he burst on the scene in 2018, I think it was, he showed everyone that he's capable of swinging the new ball and hitting that consistent length. Now, it's tough because he bowled in the Sri Lanka series last year. I remember I was there, and he was expensive. But that's going to happen when you go from not bowling at all to then having to come in and bowl under pressure. So I really hope, although he's not involved in this series, as the West Indies move into the summer, he's given a few overs strategically. But then let's see his new franchise, Barbados Royals, if in the CPL, Rodman Powell and his team utilize Rutherford. Rodman Powell is another one who used to bowl, used to be an option for the West Indies, and now we don't see him turning his arm over anymore.
Yeah, and Nikhil, you just spoke about the continuity in the Ireland setup and the nucleus of their players who've been playing so consistently for so many years. But they have a couple of injuries. Key all-rounder Curtis Camphor is out with a fractured finger. Craig Young, the veteran pacer, also out with a hammy issue. How much do you think that will affect them, going into this series?
Yeah, their bowling is significantly hampered with those 2 losses, as you mentioned, Lance. But I still think when I look at Andy McBride, who took 10 wickets in the 3 games against the West Indies, just consistent, just hitting a good length, causing challenge for the team back in 2022. And look, I think, yes, their bowling will be hampered, but I always look at the batting that they have. And Harry Tector, you can't look past him. Averages close to 50 in one-day cricket. He's got 5 ODI hundreds. He got 3 50s in that said series 3 years ago. They've got so much experience with Paul Sterling. I do think the pace injuries, Mark Adair is another one who's had a terrific year in cricket in the ILT20 and is not there either. I do think it will hamper them, but I think they've got enough batting resources to challenge the West Indies, at least put them under some pressure at some stages throughout this series.
Yeah, Nikhil, just before we go to the break, I have just one for you. Looking at the West Indies batting order now, and if I were to judge based on what happened in the most recent one-day international matches, I'd suspect they'd still go with King and Lewis at the top, with Carty at number 3, the captain, Hope at number 4. But without Rutherford, who would usually slot into that number 5 position, does that mean, in your estimation, that they bring Django up to number 5? Or is that a perfect role for the new Test captain, Roston Chase?
No, I think I would go Django 5, Graves 6, Chase 7, and then the bowlers.
Wow,
that's just me. That's just me.
You answered that one quickly. Don't you think it would be a great chance, though, for the new Test captain to get an opportunity to shoulder some responsibility early and have an opportunity to bat long at the international level?
Ricardo, I think he's capable, but I do think, he's as much as an asset at number 7 as well. With Django and Graves there, he provides that depth. And yeah, he's going to have to bowl a lot of overs in this series. So I'm happy for him to bat 6 or 7.
All right, let's leave that there for now. All right, Nikhil, let's go to a break. We'll be back to chat more cricket. Don't go anywhere. Nikhil will be back with us as well. After the break, we're talking about the women.